It's the real side of H-Town, 97.9 The Box. Man had a morning show in the studio. Godsey Martin, I just got hit.com. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to let you guys introduce this wonderful woman that we're sitting beside. She is one of our finalists for the house giveaway. So I'm going to let you take this away, Mr. Justin, as we do this today on the 1-year anniversary of Harvey. I hate to call it anniversary. I just don't know a better way to say this, because usually when you hear the word anniversary, it's a celebration.
That's right.
This is not necessarily a celebration. Well, it can be a positive celebration. We're giving away a home. A lot of people that were going through things, we're hoping that many of them are getting assistance and getting out the situation that they're in. Hopefully also with us doing this, it continues to remind people that everyone is not yet out of the water, so to speak.
Yep.
And hopefully they can get some assistance, and maybe this will put some kind of pressure on folks to continue to talk about it and to continue to make sure that their neighbors and friends and relatives, et cetera, are getting some kind of assistance as it relates to Harvey. So saying all that, sir, go ahead.
No doubt. All right, well, this is Miss Wendy Villabla, who, like all of the people that we've met throughout this amazing experience, taught us some lessons about endurance. Absolutely. And about durability. From day one, from the day the storm hit, she tells an amazing story, and it's reality. I mean, you can sit and listen to her tell her story, which hopefully you will share some of that with us today. But you realize why some of these folks are literally heroes for the way that they've handled things. I could go on and on about Miss Villabla, but I think some of the listeners will know after hearing her story why she's here today and why she's one of our final 10 for this home giveaway. Well,
Miss Wendy, step up, come a little closer to the microphone. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Again, we are giving away this house. You are one of the contestants, and I'll be honest with you, because I've heard your story. It was hard for me, but I know our listeners have not heard your story. If you could just go back for us and paint the picture as to what happened, what you've been through, and where you are at this particular moment.
Okay. Well, going back to the 27th, that morning, I had no idea that we had so much water on the street until the kids started telling me that they heard the toilet bubbling. And then from there, I was hearing the sink bubbling, didn't know what was going on. Kept on getting calls from my family, and my dad kept on telling me I needed to get out. I did end up calling my brother so that he can come and get us. And by the time that he got to the subdivision, he called me and told me that he couldn't make it into our subdivision. Didn't know what was going on. When we look outside, the water was so high. When we walked out, the water was up to my knees already. We couldn't grab anything. My boys just grabbed their laptops, and we walked all the way to my brother's truck, and he took us to my mom's house. And well, when we got to my mom's house, just a short while, we had the news on, and they said that they had mandatory evacuation for our subdivision. So we made it out just on time. Thank God for that. I was keeping in contact with my neighbor from across the street, who went to her neighbor's house next door because they had a 2-story. They decided they were going to stay. And I was talking to her throughout the evening, through the night, and she said the water would come up, it was going back down, everything was okay. The next morning, when we drove to my subdivision, the water was so high we couldn't make it in. I tried calling my neighbor. There was no answer on her house phone. Tried calling her cell phone, she didn't answer. We were still at the entrance of the subdivision, just parked there staring. And she called me back, and I asked her how everything was, and she told me that she got rescued. And at that moment, she said,
I know, sorry.
I don't know what to tell you. She said the water was to the roof. So right then and there, we knew that we lost everything.
You need a minute? If you need a minute, we can stop.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, this is real life. This is not painted pictures. This is not imagination. This is really real life. And this is, Justin, we've had this conversation. This is really the hard part about this.
Yeah.
As much as you want to be helpful and you want to see everybody winning this, there are people who've been through very dramatic situations, and many of them are still going through. And even if you going through it, it's a mental stress that you go through too. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. But I think there's also an aspect with, especially with Wendy, who I Maybe I'll get a laugh out of her here. I call her OG Wendy now.
Right.
Because her experience was not just the storm itself. I mean, this thing sort of, this storm had this way of sort of re-victimizing people.
Yeah.
Time and time. And every time you think you're getting ahead, another situation happens. And you realize that when something as traumatic as this happens, because a lot of people go, well, I lost this or I lost that. I mean, you're talking about losing a home, not being able to go back. And then she encountered illness, which took even more from her. And was
the illness caused by Harvey as well?
The doctors did tell me that stress had a lot to do with it. I got diagnosed with necrotizing pancreatitis, which was caused by a gallstone. Mm-hmm. The gallstone got stuck in the duct and ended up causing damage to my pancreas. So I was hospitalized for 3 months. After 3 days of being at the hospital in Katy, my family was told that there was nothing else that they could do for me. So I was transported to the medical center downtown.
All right, I'm here. Go ahead.
I didn't know what was going on because I was put in a medically induced coma for 2.5 weeks. When I woke up 2.5 weeks later, I didn't know how serious my condition was or what was going on. I didn't even know that I was at a different hospital from where my kids drove me to.
You can stop there. Like I said, it's hard to listen to these stories. For me, like I said, I love the aspect of what we're doing by giving away the house, but all these stories are hurtful to hear because of somebody's real life. And here's somebody that was devastated not only by your house being destroyed, then because of the storm, now your health is practically destroying you and you almost die from it. And then you still have to go through the process of trying to rebuild after, thank God that you're able to make it through that situation. But, you're still without. I will say this, though, about your story. I do want to commend your job because I know we've talked. And through all of this, they had your back. There's some people out there who went through this situation and their jobs had no compassion. Mm-hmm. They had no pity. And those people lost jobs. Yeah. So not only do they not have jobs and they not have a home and they don't have a car and they're still trying to rebuild. Yeah. So I commend your job for sticking with you because some of them did not stick with their people during this time of Harvey. Yeah. So I will say that. I don't want you to say any more about it. It's a hard story, and I don't want you crying and tearing up because I think you've been through enough. I'm glad she's one of the contestants, the final contestants, though, for the house. And then I'll say this to you guys. I know how hard, and I told you this as well, for the people that had to listen to the majority of these conversations. I commend them because this is not something like, I know it sounds like somebody trying to be funny, but just to hear these stories, they could need somebody to talk to afterwards because just to hear one horrific story after another takes its toll on the human.
It does, and especially because if you...
Thank you, Miss Wendy.
If you look to Miss Wendy's situation and you try to get an answer from, let's say, reason, reason has no answer. You can't go to reason for your answer. There's no reason for this to happen to her or to any other of these amazing folks, both that are coming up here today, but all the folks that we've listened to their calls. Reason was not an answer, and there really was no answer for them. But what we found consistently, and why I say she's a hero and the others are a hero, is because when reason didn't have an answer for them and the despair set in, courage was their answer.
Absolutely.
And she's one of the most courageous people I've ever met. And so I think she passed out on the way to the hospital, fear. She overcame that with courage. She wakes up in the hospital, fear. She overcomes that with courage. She fights to save her home. She gets a child into college within the same year. Yeah. Gets rehospitalized, gets a child into college the same year. Again, courage had the answer for her. And so I think that that's a recurring theme for us with these folks is that they're fighters. They're the type of folks that fight all the way to the ground and they get up and keep fighting. Yeah. And then the final thing I'll say is the grace that I see from them is humbling, because I think of my situation. I go, man, you know, I wake up, I might have a bad day, you know, something might happen, the dog
That's
might
exactly
have
what I was getting ready to say.
You know, or your car's on flat or whatever,
That's
and you're
right.
complaining about XYZ because of traffic. The reality is, folks, none of us are having bad days compared to these stories.
That's right.
And the fact that they, with grace, can still find a reason to smile and still find a reason to go on and fight through, for me is heroic. And we need more folks like this. So I'm glad we're telling the story. So there is a bright side to this for all of us and for the folks that have been screening these calls.
Well, it's interesting, Miss Wendy, because, you know, sometimes life plays these kind of funny tricks on you. And I found out that I needed to go talk to you on Friday. And sometimes in life, you think that what you're going through is bad. And then, you know, God has a way of saying, you think something wrong is happening in your life? You think this situation that you dealing with, this is your end of the world? Let me let you hear a story today. And so when you were telling me the story, the reason why I was looking so shocked, I was like, okay, God, okay, I got it. When we think our situation is bad, there's somebody else that had it much worse. And you don't know that you're blessed until sometimes you hear stuff like this. And not saying that you're not blessed too, because I think you are. I think there's going to be a great outcome for you. I think you do have so much grace. But again, your story is a reminder. Right when you think that it's all bad for you, just always try to remember there is somebody out there that's going through way worse than you. So you need to be thankful to God that what you think is your bad ain't that bad at all.
Sure.
So that's what I really appreciate. And it came at a very interesting time in the day for me when I talked to you, because I'm like, okay, God, okay, I got it. Well played, my friend. Well played. So I just want to tell you that I appreciate you being up here telling the story. I know it's hard for you, because what happens is every time you tell this story, it's reliving the pain again and again and again. There's some other stuff you left out. I'm going to leave that stuff out. Just, it's your personal business. I just want to leave that out. But I commend you for being up here telling your story. I think people need to hear the story. And most importantly, I think people need to hear it, because I think not everyone, I think a large majority of our community has forgotten about these stories that these individuals, and there is a lot of individuals still going through it. We talked to Councilmember Edwards earlier. She was telling us about all these families still going through it. And we don't see it on the news every day. We're not hearing about it every day. So we have forgotten that people are still going through it. So we need to be reminded that people are still going through it, and we still need to figure out ways to get folks help.
No doubt.
I do appreciate us being able to do this, so we can keep the word out there that people still need help in our community, and we need to figure out how to get them help. So I will say that, and thank you so much again, Miss Wendy, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you guys for everything that you're doing. I mean, it's just amazing. It's like the rainbow after the storm. Just, you know, what you guys are doing is just amazing, helping so many families out.
Well, thank you. I hate to call this the anniversary of Harvey, but we'll be talking about Harvey. We'll talk to some, I hate to say victims, some of the individuals and some of the things they've been going through since Harvey. We'll be doing that throughout the day. So just continue to listen. We have to figure out, when actually are we going to give away this home?
About 30 days from
30
today.
days from today.
Yeah,
okay.
We're finishing up the home, remodeling it now, and the Boss Life team, every time they send me video or we go over there and look at the house, I'm floored. Man, that house is beautiful.
Well, thank you guys again. I just got hit.com. Godsey Martin, Slim Thug, Boss Life Construction. Thank you guys. All the contestants, thank all of you. Miss Wendy, thank you so much. Again, we'll continue talking about this throughout the day on the 1-year anniversary of Harvey right here on the BOX.